Hi, this is Emily, one of the writing tutors in the Jaguar Tutoring and Writing Center. The purpose of this workshop is to get you started on your rhetorical analysis essay. In this assignment, you are asked to choose one article and evaluate how well the author employs the rhetorical strategies of ethos, logos, and pathos. There are many rhetorical strategies authors might use to make their point. In this case, the rhetorical strategies, sometimes called devices, of ethos, logos, and pathos, were first articulated by the Greek philosopher Aristotle in the 4th century BC, and we still use them today. Through rhetorical analysis, you can learn to recognize and appreciate the various rhetorical strategies employed by communicators. For your rhetorical analysis essay, you will be choosing a written article, but speakers also use these strategies. Understanding how these strategies work is invaluable whenever you are evaluating or analyzing a writer or speaker's argument. It can help you decide whether or not you agree. Equally, understanding how rhetorical strategies work will help you create persuasive arguments or engage in debates. The first step in writing your rhetorical analysis essay is to understand the purpose of your essay. To reiterate, you are to choose one article and evaluate how well the author uses ethos, logos, and pathos to make their argument. Here at JCC, some assignments might be slightly different, so always make sure you understand what your particular instructor wants you to do. Of course, it is important that you know what ethos, logos, and pathos are and how to recognize them. We'll discuss that more in a few minutes. And finally, be prepared to read the article you are analyzing multiple times in order to fully appreciate not just the content of the text, but how well the author uses these strategies to make an argument. In rhetoric, ethos focuses on the speaker or writer's credibility, character, and authority to persuade an audience. It helps to convince the audience that the speaker is knowledgeable, trustworthy, and competent, making their argument more convincing and reliable. Ethos is particularly crucial in academic and college-level writing, as it helps scholars and students establish their expertise and enhance the effectiveness of their arguments. Here are some things to look for when deciding an author's credibility on a particular subject. Citations from reputable sources. Does the writer include well-respected scholars, renowned researchers, or authoritative institutions in their references? For instance, if a political science essay cites multiple peer-reviewed articles from prestigious journals or quotes statements from experts in the field, the writer's argument gains credibility and authenticity. Personal experience and expertise. The author sharing relevant personal experiences or expertise can enhance ethos, especially when discussing subjects where practical knowledge is valued. For example, in a psychology paper on managing anxiety, a student who has undergone cognitive behavioral therapy and shares their personal insights and coping strategies adds credibility to the content. Qualifications and affiliations. Especially in peer-reviewed articles, question whether the author has the relevant academic qualifications, professional affiliations, or positions. An economist analyzing global trade dynamics might mention their PhD in economics or their work experience in international trade negotiations to establish authority on the subject. And tone and language choice. An author using a professional and informed tone contributes to their ethos. They should avoid slang or overly casual language, and instead opt for a more formal style that demonstrates respect for the reader and reflects the seriousness of the topic. Further, look for an acknowledgement of counterarguments. Acknowledging and fairly addressing opposing viewpoints demonstrates intellectual honesty and open-mindedness, reinforcing the author's ethos. For example, when writing a persuasive essay on climate change, the writer might acknowledge skepticism and provide well-reasoned counterarguments to display a willingness to engage with differing opinions. Avoidance of logical fallacies. If an author commits logical fallacies, it weakens their ethos and undermines their credibility. For instance, making sweeping generalizations or using ad hominem attacks, which is attacking a person instead of an opposing argument, damages the impression of the author's expertise. And finally, testimonials or endorsements. In some contexts, a credible author might include testimonials or endorsements from reputable figures to strengthen their ethos. This is often seen in advertising or political speeches, where endorsements from celebrities or respected public figures lend credibility to the product or candidate. Next, let's discuss logos. The rhetorical strategy of logos aims to persuade readers through logical reasoning and evidence. When using logos, writers present well-structured arguments, facts, and data to support their claims, leading the reader to reach logical conclusions. This strategy appeals to the reader's intellect and rationality, relying on sound reasoning rather than emotional or ethical appeals. Look for these things. Logical reasoning. Building a coherent and structured argument is crucial for logos. The writer must be able to establish a clear chain of reasoning that leads the reader from the premises to a conclusion. This helps the reader to follow and understand the flow of the argument. Evidence. Providing factual information, data, statistics, expert opinions, and research findings strengthens the argument's credibility and persuasiveness. Strong evidence offers support for the writer's claims, making it easier for the audience to accept the argument. And counter-arguments and refutation. Addressing potential counter-arguments and refuting them helps to strengthen the overall argument. By acknowledging opposing viewpoints and offering a reasoned response, the writer demonstrates a comprehensive understanding of the issue at hand. Let's look at an example of logos. This is an example where the writer has included a reference to a trusted organization and the use of statistics to draw their conclusions. Of course, in your paper, you should evaluate and cite where the author got his sources. So ethos and logos are often closely related. The third element of rhetorical analysis is pathos, or an emotional connection. Pathos appeals to the emotions and feelings of the audience, aiming to create an emotional connection that can influence their beliefs, attitudes, and decisions. By employing pathos, speakers and writers can evoke empathy, sympathy, anger, joy, or any other emotional response in their audience, making their argument more compelling and memorable. Here are some techniques a writer might use to appeal to the reader's emotions. These are very common in advertising and political writing or speeches. Note that in academic writing, it may be just as valuable to analyze the lack of pathos in writing. For example, we wouldn't expect and might even be suspicious of emotional appeals in a scientific article. To evoke pathos, authors will often identify emotional appeal. They might use vivid language and imagery within their writing. They might tell a compelling story. Or they might appeal to values that are shared between themselves and the readers. In his I Have a Dream speech, Martin Luther King Jr. masterfully used pathos, appealing to the emotions of hope, unity, and equality. One of the most iconic lines from the speech, here, demonstrates his skillful use of emotional language. Pathos is a powerful rhetorical device that enables speakers and writers to connect with their audience on an emotional level. By identifying the emotional appeals, using vivid language, sharing compelling stories, and appealing to shared values, communicators can harness the power of pathos to create a lasting impact and effectively convey their message. So now that you understand the concepts of ethos, logos, and pathos, organizing and writing your rhetorical analysis should be a piece of cake. Here are a few basic tips for writing a successful rhetorical analysis. First of all, let's discuss your introduction. In the introduction, you should make sure you clearly explain to your reader the purpose of the essay. Your thesis sentence should clearly state how well you think the author of the article employed ethos, logos, and pathos. Each paragraph in the body of your essay should discuss in more detail how well you think the author used ethos, logos, and pathos. Each paragraph should discuss only one rhetorical strategy, and make sure you provide evidence from your article. Finally, your conclusion should summarize your key points, but does not need to go into any additional detail or cite any new evidence. Your conclusion should reflect your thesis statement. Understanding Aristotle's concepts of ethos, logos, and pathos is crucial for effective communication. especially in academic and persuasive contexts. It's an important and valuable critical thinking skill to be able to evaluate how well an author uses these strategies. If you'd like to learn more about writing a rhetorical analysis essay, there are a number of sources available at the Jaguar Tutoring and Writing Center. You can access these through the library website. You can also use the Jaguar Writing Portal for feedback on your essay when it's complete. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your paper.